Evening, everyone. We're about ready to start. We need one more, two more.
We're good. We got
Okay.
enough.
Yep, Dennis, you're over here.
Nobody told me.
Sorry, Dennis.
Thank you.
Oh,
Over here.
I didn't notice that either.
it's because see where Tony's at?
I see that.
I gotta keep.
Okay.
We're not banishing him, we're giving him a visual advantage.
Should we had talked about the first 15 minutes of the meeting being for open mic. Are we still going to continue that?
Absolutely.
What's the pleasure of council? Okay. So if we have the first 15 minutes of our council meetings for open mic, all we would ask that you give us a name if you have one, and we'll go forward. If not, then after a period of time, we will start our meeting. So-
We did want to make for sure that there was an understanding and clarification that we're talking about that 5-minute time limit.
A 5-minute time limit as
with the
well.
With a trap door.
Thank you, Mr. Meisner. And as well as that, if we would not want discussions of anything that's going to be on our regular agenda, that will be discussed later. And also, if you've signed up to speak, you'll be given time then too. So, is there anyone that would like to address the council on any particular issue not on the agenda? I got quiet all of a sudden, didn't it? So let's go ahead and start city council meeting for November the 21st, 2016. Hereby call this meeting to order, and we have invocation by Joe Garkovich of First Christian Church, and they'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let us pray. God of creation, we thank you for another day. As we gather here this evening to do this important work, we pray that you would grant us courage and wisdom and compassion as we make decisions and we address issues and hear others' opinions. And all these prayers we send to you in Christ's name. Amen.
Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Thank you. Kathy, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Troutman,
Here.
council members Smith. Here. Gill,
Here.
Weed,
Here.
Meisner,
There.
Councilmember Ekstrom, and Schumacher. Excuse, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we have citizens' requests to speak to council. Are there any? Any written requests?
We have received one written request to speak to council. It's from Lisa Himes. She wants to speak to council in regard to chamber events.
Okay, Lisa?
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to remind everyone that this Friday is our Christmas tree lighting in Depot Park. The city has been working very hard to build our beautiful Christmas tree and create our Christmas village there on 9th and Royal Gorge Boulevard. We will be having a formal lighting starting at 5:30 p.m. on Friday evening. We will sing Christmas carols, have hot chocolate provided by Emmy's Cafe, and have treats for the kids and even the adults if they want to be a kid. And I just invite the entire community to come out and be a part of the second annual Christmas tree lighting. And then on Sunday, November 27th, we have our Deck the Halls, which is our Christmas tree decorating event. This is our third annual. This is where all the Christmas trees are decorated, and eventually they will line Main Street and be all plugged in. They are all dedicated, almost all dedicated to nonprofits within our community. We do have community trees as well, but we invite individuals, children, everyone to come out and help decorate these trees. This is a community event, and we want the entire community to be involved in it. And they also look marvelous on Main Street all month long, all the way through New Year's. And then we have our Parade of Lights on December 3rd, starting at 6 p.m. on Main Street. Our distinguished citizens, the Grand Marshals of the parade this year, are Dave and Linda Lambert. So it's going to be a wonderful evening. Mother Nature has promised to cooperate. I want to remind our entire community that Saturday, the 26th of November, is Shop Local, shop within our community. Please find out what we have to offer here. Please keep our tax dollars here so that we can continue to improve our community. So I invite the public to participate in Shop Local. The stores are going to be open. Some of them are even going to have beverages and treats. And get out and find out maybe what you didn't know Canyon City had to offer. So I thank you very much.
Lisa, what time is Deck the Halls?
Deck the Halls, I'm sorry, thank you. It starts at noon and will end at approximately 2 p.m. I used to have it for 4 hours, and I found most of the trees were done within an hour.
Okay, thank you.
So that's always a great event. And there are prizes for the nonprofits. They do have cash awards that go towards those nonprofits, and if they want to know who the nonprofits are, they can call the chamber and find out about them.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. For those who attended the city tree lighting last year, I'm going to guarantee that it's going to be warmer this year than it was last.
It was brutal last year. This year, no, it's going to be beautiful. And Star Country Radio is bringing out the music so that we can sing Christmas carols so we don't have to go a cappella. And it's just going to be a great event. And every year it's going to get bigger and better. We've got more than twice as many lights this year as we did last year. So every year we're going to make it bigger and better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Is that it? So all the written requests? Okay. Let's move on to approval of the minutes for the November the 7th, 2016 City Council meeting. Are there any corrections? Hearing none, could I have a motion and a second? Mr. Meisner?
Mr. Mayor, Council, I move that we approve the minutes from the 11/7/2016 regular City Council meeting.
Second.
Mr. Weed, second. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Meisner?
Aye.
Councilmember Weed?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Gill?
Aye.
Approved by unanimous vote.
Okay, are there any council members' announcements at this time?
Lisa, is Michael here to be recognized? Okay. Do we have that letter? Lisa, why don't both you and Michael come up to the microphone and maybe you can explain why we've invited him here tonight to be recognized by City Council.
Oops, I guess I'll just leave it right there. I want to introduce to everyone Michael Slusher. Michael was amazing this year. He dedicated his time to watering all of the flowers on Main Street. We did it together for a while until we got our awesome golf cart fixed. And once our golf cart was fixed, Mike took over on his own, and he continued to maintain those flowers every day, sometimes twice a day, for almost 5 months. This was a voluntary position that Mike did. He said to me, you know, I just love it being out here in the morning, and could I just do this all summer long? And it's like, please. So it's just amazing that we have people within our community that want to work so hard to make our community better, and we all agree that those flowers had a great impact on the downtown area. And Mike actually lives within the downtown area, so he got to enjoy them all day, every day. And I just really want to thank him for his hard work.
Great. Thank you, Mike. They were beautiful, those baskets, and probably would not have been that way without your help. And
My
Lisa's,
pleasure.
of course, and of course the recuperated golf cart. I'm glad we fixed that. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
It was a
Thank
beautiful
you.
downtown. We'll do that again next year, right? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Slip that in. Thank you.
So thank you for making your downtown and our city beautiful. We sure appreciate it. And if you don't mind, we'd love to have you come up front and we'll take a picture with you and the city council. And we also have a letter that's been signed by the mayor and all council members that we will get to you shortly to honor and recognize you officially for all that you have done for us. Thank you for your service.
No, just right there front and center.
Okay, stand still. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along. We have the adoption of the agenda and the consent agenda. At this time, can I pull some things off the consent agenda, or do we have to, Tony, review them and then pull it off? Sure. I have some questions. Okay, Tony, would you review that, please?
First item is 4A. It's proposed reclassification of street crew leader to a street field supervisor. This will cost approximately $6,570. The intent here is to basically mesh two independent street crews into one that can address a variety of street issues, everything from concrete repair, street grading, street resurfacing, chip sealing, bridge maintenance, snow removal, sanding, stormwater maintenance, and just operating equipment. Currently, we have superintendent, and then this essentially would become kind of the number two person in the street department, but hands-on, operational, not just overseeing the crews, but also operating equipment. So I think it will give us more flexibility in addressing different issues during the course of a day by having one street supervisor being able to coordinate and direct the activities of two different crews. So if we have a big enough job, those crews can come together and be solely supervised, or if they're separate jobs, they can be split up. So I think it will give us more flexibility, more efficiency, and hopefully more productivity on behalf of the city. We're also not filling what has been a vacancy for the last couple of years, because we think we can generate more optimal results through this means, and it's less expensive. B is a resolution act authorizing the transfer of budget funds between accounts and all city funds. These transfers will not increase the total budget in the appropriate funds, which include the general fund, the park fund, the quality of life fund, the water fund, and the self-insurance fund. The total transfers represent about 2.8% of total expenditures for the year. So essentially, 97.2% of all our expenditures have been expended within very discrete line items, because this city is unique in that the charter actually holds us to not the fund level, but to the line item level for accountability. So 2.8% is not a bad measure when you consider that over 90% of all transactions are within budgeted and approved line items, which are very detailed. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I had seen this. Is that, so this money gets transferred to the 2017 budget, or what?
No, it's basically just a housekeeping cleanup at year end to ensure that, you know, that we're reconciling and approving the expenditure of these monies outside of their original budgeted appropriation. And it represents 2.8% of all costs. That's what this represents. Because technically, because of our charter, we can't spend money outside of a specific line item, which I have never seen that before. Generally, you're restricted at a budget accountability to a fund, like the general fund or the self-insurance fund. In our particular case here, it's to the line item. So this represents the necessary reconciliation the city normally has to do at year end to ensure that we've got approval for expenditures outside their original line item appropriation.
Okay, so some of these items are in excess of what we agreed to in the budget. We're just increasing that, and some are not. Some are
Yeah.
less. We're going to
Yeah.
go over and under.
Yes. Some
Okay.
accounts were underspent, some were overspent,
Okay.
and this cleans that up by basically reconciling the accounting of the budget.
And you and the county department don't feel that's necessary to bring that to city council, just in this form?
This is traditionally how you have
Okay.
received it
Okay,
every year, according to Harry. Usually, again, these reconciliations are between funds, which is unique. Usually, you don't have major transfers between funds. In this particular case, because of the city charter here, it's accounting to the line item level, which is, I've never seen that before. Doesn't mean it's wrong, it just means it's very, very precise and requires these kinds of year-end reconciliations within individual accounts.
I just never seen this before, so I'm still stumbling over it. Is this this isn't a way of going over budget and then at the end of the year finding a way to
No, none of these funds, as I mentioned, is over budget. They're within their budgets, the individual funds. Just that individual line item accounts, there could be some discrepancies. They represent 2.8% of all of our expenditures. And so we need to reconcile that by you approving which line items they were expended out of. That's all. Because the city charter requires that level of detail of approval.
Okay. We may have to have a longer conversation. I just don't, I mean, you had one, here is $80,000 for contingency, 80,800. I think that's fairly significant. What, do we want to talk about it here now or later?
Yeah, if you have any
Oh.
questions, I can certainly have Harry provide you a memo on each, but these are all valid expenditures approved by the council. They're within the funds. It does not exceed the budget that was approved by the council. It's just that these are deviations within line item accounts
Oh.
that you have to approve because the
Okay.
city charter requires it.
Got it. Oh, I understand now. Yeah.
Okay.
We have funds for different things, which is exactly what the first page says. And within that fund, there's pluses and negatives, and we're just balancing. It's not going anywhere. The overall fund was approved, was just within the fund how that money was reallocated. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, got it. All right,
Mayor,
Mr. Meisner.
where I'm still confused in specifics is, for example, the hydraulic ditch crossing,
Yes.
that was a specific bid item, was it not? And it looks to me like that and the downtown alley, both of those projects were reallocating additional monies to those particular projects?
Yes.
Does
If-
that mean that they went over budget then? I mean, if we approved the budget amount for 20,000 and we're now putting more in there, it seems
Yes,
to,
technically, the actual bids are coming in over the estimated budgeted expense, which, you know, you don't want to do, but that's not uncommon for construction projects. I mean, you're trying to project out what costs are going to be over a year, and then these projects come in, and depending on the quality of the bids, the number of bids, what the economy is doing, sometimes you can get bids higher than your estimates. Doesn't mean the public's not getting a fair cost for the service, but your estimate was probably off if there's a significant deviation. And that
I guess where
occasionally happens.
I'm confused is we do a bid, which we authorize the bid for a specific amount of the bid plus a contingency with the understanding that it could potentially go over the bid amount.
Yes.
And we then go over what I'm assuming is the bid plus the contingency, and somebody just did that.
Yeah, and your option is either to accept the increased costs or reject the bids, which is not uncommon, and see if you can get better bids in the future. That's always an option. Because you're right, this bid amount exceeds what was originally budgeted. And if you think you can do better in the future, then I'd suggest reject the bid and see whether the market provides you a better response.
So the bid amount was given to us, and then we approved that, but in reality, we couldn't find anybody that would do it for that particular amount of money.
I'm confused. I mean, we've got a bid from a vendor for X amount of dollars that we're essentially accepting for X amount of dollars, and now we're saying that that wasn't the case. Is that what I'm understanding?
You awarded the bid, but at the time the budget was adopted, you only put so much in that line item, and then when the bid came in, it was over what you guys,
No, that's not what I'm understanding with the documentation that we had. We had a bid that had figures listed in it for 20,000 plus a contingency that went to committee, and then we looked at that, and then we approved it to go to council for X amount of dollars.
Right, and then actually went out into the real world, and no one would bid it at that amount that you're saying. So in order to do that alleyway, you had to go over.
So why were those people listed on the bid form?
I don't think there was.
There was. I mean, you can't have a bid process
Specifically?
without vendors.
Well, no, you can put in the budget what you would expect that to come to.
We're not talking about budget line items, we're talking about a bid. And a bid is awarded with a vendor bidding a price and us awarding that, and then we're awarding and then going over.
Are you talking about?
Yeah, I think we're talking about, are you talking about the alley project?
Well, that's what's mentioned here, and the hydraulic
Because
ditch.
the alley project was originally, the intent was $100,000 to
Right.
do one section. Based upon the opportunity, Adam believed it was in our best interest to basically double that project. So therefore, it exceeded the budget. But wanted to get the work done.
Mr. Mayor?
And the
Yes.
council did approve that.
Mr. Gill?
So if I'm understanding this correctly, we pick a project that we want to do. Adam says, okay, this project should cost this much, we need to put this much in the budget. So we've got this much money in the budget. We go to get the job done, and we get bids on it. And that bid is over what we projected it to be when we set the budget. So we accept that bid, and it's usually probably never lower, but usually higher.
Yeah.
So it's based on a speculative dollar amount. This is what we need to place in this budget for this project. And when we actually go to do this project, we get bids on it, and the bid is over that budget, that line item in that budget. So this has to be reconciled. Very good.
But to the bigger issue, as you've legitimately raised, if you're not comfortable with a project that exceeds our budget and the bids that we've received for that project, your option is to reject the bid. That's not uncommon, for you to reject the bid and have us go back out to the marketplace, see if in the springtime, things are better, things are more competitive. So, don't feel obligated just because we bring you back a project and said, hey, we've got to increase the cost of this because of the lack of bidding or the cost to the competition. So you're not required to accept this.
I'm confused.
And this is all within the same fund, right? So let's say the Parks Department, and I'm just picking a number
Sure,
or a name. The Parks Department has a total budget for the year, right?
Yeah.
And they come in under budget on certain things, and then other things either unexpected or whatever, or more. So you balance this out within, say, Parks and Rec.
True.
So they're still adhering to their allowed budget. Only it's like the rest of us, sometimes our electric bill is higher than what we anticipated. So we, chisel a little bit off our water bill to go do this, as long as it all ends up at the end of the year being okay.
Good analogy. That's exactly it.
Okay?
But I'm not sure if that addresses Councilman Meisner's issue. I think it's slightly different.
The projects, the hydraulic ditch crossing and downtown alley project that's on page 2 of the resolution, those are for projects that have already been done in 2016. Are you
No,
projecting for in the future?
I'm not. And I think if you go back and look at those bids, it referenced a specific line item in the budget.
And then that
Does.
that dollar amount was
It
put
does.
in the budget as a line item?
It
for
was
that
already
bid?
in the budget,
Yes.
because the budget was approved in December of 2015.
Right.
and we're going back and making a bid, and in that bid, always it references a line item saying,
What
this item
resources
is
are
already
available?
funded in line item such and such in the budget.
Exactly.
We're now coming back after that bid was approved for $100,000. Did the downtown alley cost $162,000?
Yes. But it was an
Okay, that's my point.
But didn't we do more
yes.
alley footage than what was anticipated?
Yes.
Because we had the time and this and that. So more work was accomplished for that extra $66,000 or whatever it is.
And that was to complete our commitment to the downtown.
Yeah.
Be it from the project that was done there, we needed to complete that agreement with them to finish the alleyways and those certain
Two
blocks.
blocks.
Yeah, those
Yes.
two blocks.
Rather than one block?
Yeah,
I
but
mean-
we started out as 2 blocks.
Okay.
I'm lost. All right, doesn't matter.
Well, I think 4D, well, if we want to jump to that, probably relates more to what Councilmember Meisner is addressing. Here we have a project, the reconstruction of stone and concrete for retaining wall on Pump Hill. We got 2 bids, which represents about $295,768. The budget for that, the estimate for that project was $250,000. So here's an example of a budget exceeding, a project exceeding the budget.
I don't have a problem with that.
You can choose to accept that or reject that.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
not my point. My
Okay.
point is in 6 months, we come back and allocate more money to this pre-approved dollar amount. And that's what we're doing, in my opinion, with these other 2. But let's move forward, please.
4C relates to a water service contract at 1900 Grand Avenue, which property is located outside the city limits, so the applicant's required to execute a future improvements agreement for curb, gutter, and sidewalk. And I know the mayor had an issue with that. I don't know if you want to hold off on this and
No.
discuss it.
No, I'm fine. We'll move
Okay.
forward. I have talked to the citizen regarding, he's okay with it.
Okay.
Okay.
And 4D, as I just represented, was the Pump Hill project, is 2 bids. One would be for materials to EM Manufacturing Colorado Springs for $92,137, and then the bid 4416 to Langston Concrete of Florence for the amount of $203,450.50.
Could,
That
what are it seems like they are both materials. One is for concrete and the other is for what?
Blocks,
What?
blocks,
Blocks,
Legos,
yeah.
Blocks.
Legos.
Concrete blocks.
Prefabricated blocks,
Used to make walls.
yeah. You're grading building a retaining wall? Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that project, again, exceeds what was originally budgeted by $45,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes
But,
sense.
but, Mr. Meisner, in the budget itself, it did not delineate who those people were going to be. It just was a number amount.
That's not my point. I'm
I
not
thought it was your
communicating
point.
my issue, I guess.
Can you write it down?
I understand.
Thank you.
Oh, well, I'm clear.
Good. Well,
So-
Dennis and I are on the same page. We're in good shape.
Oh,
I do have another question.
Yes,
If-
Mr. Meisner.
My only concern is, I guess I'll vote for this. I have a real difficult time supporting any transaction of the city that's going to pull money out of street funds. That's ludicrous.
It's
This
not
doesn't-
pulling out of
this
street
doesn't.
funds, it's all in the same fund. That fund is from the street budget that covers all kinds of projects, not just resurfacing,
I know that.
and the Pump Hill is part of that.
Well, technically, Councilmember is correct. The monies that are being transferred are coming from a specific street count that deals with resurfacing and chip and seal.
We're not doing it. Then we're sitting here complaining because we got terrible
Spent only
streets.
26% of what was budgeted in that $400,000 account. So it raises a valid concern. We need to be more disciplined. If we propose a budget for you, we propose project improvements to you, we should get them done.
I mean, if there's any place in the budget we shouldn't have excess money, it would be our street project money.
Agreed.
That should be zero.
Agreed.
And we're pulling money out of it to support side street projects.
Well,
I'm done.
we created that $1 million fund so that if the 2A passed, that we would have a little jump start. Am I correct on that, Mayor? For streets?
Yeah, it's in the fund.
In
But
theory.
this,
Theory, yeah.
Well, in
And
reality-
Well, now
I
we're
think we
using it.
should commit to still doing that. That's a concern of mine as well. Can we find a different place in our budget to address that
Should,
over
yeah.
budget, so that we
yes.
can commit that $1
Yeah,
million
and we'll talk to
towards our
staff about
streets?
just being more disciplined about adhering to the budget and delivering on what you anticipate when you approve the budget. I mean, for example, streets is a critical asset that we need to maintain and preserve. We shouldn't be only spending 26% of the funds to protect and preserve those streets, given the current condition of them. That's hard to rationalize.
I want to keep that $1 million that we had earmarked towards jumpstarting on getting street projects done, and keep that maintained and find the additional 45,000 for Put and Peel from a different place if we can.
But if we approve this, we're authorizing that. Is that not correct, Tony?
Yes,
yes.
you'd have to direct us to find a different account, which we could.
Okay, yeah, if she wants to amend it, that's fine.
Is that what we're doing? Do we need to vote on that?
I don't know, that's Councilman Smith's option.
We direct, well, we can direct the city administrator to do that, can't we?
Yes.
Yes. So,
Yeah, I think our street funds should be maintained as clearly and as wholly as it possibly can, and keep whatever money that was allowed for the streets in the streets.
okay.
And I think there's probably someplace else that can come from. I mean, if that's the will of the entire council, but I think that that's a good point.
We,
We'll take care of that. Thank you.
okay, looks like we're all okay then. All right, we'll direct the city administrator to do that. Shall we continue? I think we're at list of bills. We've gone through the bid, Part D, and the list of bills. Okay. So, are there any, we did the corrections on the consent agenda. Could I have a motion and second from council as amended, as we discussed?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the adoption of the agenda and consent agenda as revised.
As
with
revised.
the funding.
Mr. Gill, second. Any discussion on the motion?
Just to be sure, in here, we're taking care of the streets issue. Is that an amendment in this or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, with the amendment, just so everybody's clear, with the amendment to find the money someplace else other than the streets.
Yes.
But you're talking about the Pump Hill project.
Correct. And that is the pump hill, yeah.
Okay. Any, would you call the roll, please?
Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Gill?
Aye.
Councilmember Weed?
Aye.
Councilmember Meisner?
Nay.
Approved by majority vote.
Thank you. Then we approve the list of bills there for, so shall we have the, excuse me, administrator's report, please?
So we'd like to acknowledge the council's recent strategic planning retreat. I think the public is going to be a great beneficiary of that in the months ahead. Council had an excellent meeting this past week, to clearly identify what its vision is, what its strategic priorities are. What the staff will be doing over the next couple of weeks is filling in the blanks as far as key intended outcomes, performance metrics, so that we can monitor, measure success and the progress of this plan. But we should have something before you by the end of December. And I think once it's adopted, I think the community will be able to see the linkage between your strategic direction and the voice you heard and the priorities the citizens articulated in the citizen survey, so they can see the relationship between the two.
I'd like to reiterate that. I thought
Yeah.
council did a superb job of coming together and reaching some real, it wasn't even consensus. It was a good, solid agreement in terms of what we wanted to do, and developing a good vision plan statement.
And yes, you'll have that rendition out to everybody then shortly, or? the-
Probably scheduled for council review and approval on the December 19th meeting,
Okay,
but it's been a very important document to direct the actions of the council and the community over the next 3 to 5 years. And that will be complemented also by then annual business plans that will be more tactical, more detailed, so it gives direction to the staff and ensures alignment between the council's policies, our budget, and how we utilize our time and resources. So we're focused on what you want done.
Yes, it was very good. I got to tell you from the onset, I thought, oh no, not another day-long meeting. And it went very well, went very fast, and the moderator was excellent, and I had to change my mind on that. I enjoyed it. So thank you all for that. Is that it, Tony?
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on to ordinance number 7, which is ordinance number 22, series of 2016. It's the annexation of property into city limits for U.S. Highway 50 annexation. This is a second reading. Clerk, could you read by title, please?
Ordinance number 22, series of 2016, and ordinance annexing certain unincorporated lands commonly known as the U.S. Highway 50 annexation to the city of Canyon City, Colorado.
Could I have a motion and a second from council? Mr. Meisner?
Mayor, council, I move that we accept ordinance number 22, series of 2016.
Second.
Second, Mr. Weed. Any discussion on the motion?
I'll second.
Second from Councilmember Weed.
We have a second from Mr. Weed, but will you concede your second? Okay. All right. No, I mean, Mr.
Can I rescind my second? For
You may have
discussion?
rescinded your second. That's, could call a roll, please.
Member Meisner,
Aye.
Councilmember Weed,
Aye.
Councilmember Gill,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Approved by unanimous vote.
Thank you. Number 8 is ordinance number 23, a series of 2016. This is a second reading. This is an ordinance amending chapter 17.20.085 and 17.08 regarding food costs and kiosk. Would you please read by title, please? Kathy.
This is a bill for ordinance number 23, series of 2016, and ordinance amending Title 17 zoning of the Canyon City Municipal Code pertaining to regulations for food carts and kiosks.
Could I have a motion and a second from council?
Mayor, I
Ms.
move
Smith?
that we adopt ordinance number 23, series of 2016, on second reading.
Mr. Gill?
I'll
Second by Mr. Gill. Any discussion on the motion? Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Gill,
Aye.
Councilmember Meisner,
Aye.
Councilmember Weed.
Aye.
Approved by unanimous vote.
Okay, we have number 9, which is public hearing. It's an application for a special event liquor permit for the Future of Yesterday, which is located at 12 Riverside Drive. That will be on December the 3rd. So hereby opening a public hearing. Could we have a report from the city clerk, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is Moretta Shiraki and Ashley Sack, who's representing the Future of Yesterday Foundation, who's applied for the special event for December 3rd between 6 p.m. and midnight for their Prohibition Park. Notice of this public hearing was given by posting the location. This organization has conducted a number of events with no concerns having been received. This event will entail food and entertainment throughout the evening. Alcohol sales at this event are being conducted as a fundraiser for this organization. Individuals 21 and up will receive a wristband, and any of the underage participants attending the event will receive a black X on both hands. Volunteers from the organization and the On Watch group will be checking IDs at the sole interest to ensure legal drinking age and will assist in patrolling the premises of the event. Both volunteers and the On Watch group have attended liquor training offered by the city. Upon review of the application, the appropriate fees have been submitted, the diagram meets filing requirements, the applicant has obtained permission to use the premises, and the organization is in good standing with the Secretary of State. So with that, I'd open it up to any questions you may have of the group.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant at this time?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
council,
Meisner?
ladies, welcome. Are you familiar with the Colorado Liquor Code?
Yes.
Is there a copy of the liquor code on file with your organization?
Yes.
How many volunteers do you plan on having for this event?
In 12 and 15.
How will they be trained in the liquor code and liquor laws?
Most of them are bartenders around town and have all attended the training that's provided by the city.
Are you fully aware that you are responsible for compliance with the Colorado Liquor Code and that any violations of this code may be held against you and/or your organization, as well as future licensing?
Yes.
You want to give us some more information about your event?
We'd love to.
There you go.
Mr. O'Rourke, you're in for a real treat. This is our third annual, but your first annual
Looking forward
Prohibition
to it.
Party. So once again, this is our third annual. We're very excited to be raising money for the Hotel St. Cloud once again. You can't tell, but the roofing project on the Hotel St. Cloud is now completed. New roof on the hotel. It's the first step. They're kind of working from top and then starting at the bottom and working toward the middle. So the foundation project is up next, and this party is meant to help raise funds for that. Of course, it is a costume party. Black tie, 1920s and 30s apparel only. I know some of you thought it wouldn't make it, but it's our third year, so we're very excited to once again offer the people of Canyon City an opportunity to let loose during the holidays. It is on the same night as the parade. We understand that, so we hope that most folks can bring the kiddos down to the parade, send the kiddos back home with the babysitter, and come out and enjoy an evening with us. Again, costumed, 1920s, 30s apparel. We have tickets available at hotelstcloud.com, and you can also get them at Altered Antiques here in Canyon City, at the Poor House in Florence, and also at the Bean Peddler here in Canyon City. So we like to encourage folks to go to the brick and mortar stores and explore a few of our Canyon City area retailers to purchase tickets, or also online if they would like to do that as well. And we would like to thank our sponsors, Pharisee Ford here in town. We've never had sponsors before, so this is a fantastic treat for us to have their support. Pharisee Ford, of course, the Future of Yesterday Foundation, Robeson Mansion, and also Trent Rundell at Allstate has given his support, and we are so very thankful for that in our third year.
Thank you.
FYI, it's probably not Tony's first Prohibition Party.
Okay.
It could be my first Downton Abbey type of party, so.
We will expect you with
look into that.
your hat on, Mr. O'Rourke.
And what about Murphy?
He's got an outfit.
Okay. I would like, are there any comments from the audience this time? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion and a second. Mr. Meisner.
Mayor and council, I move that we approve application for a special event liquor permit for Future of Yesterday, 12 Riverside Drive on December 3rd.
Second.
Second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Meisner?
Aye.
Councilmember Weed?
Aye.
Councilmember Gill?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Approved by unanimous vote.
Thank you
Good
so
luck.
much.
Yeah, have a great event. We appreciate you guys.
Okay, our next, actually, we have two resolutions. We have 10A, which is resolution number 29 of 2016, adopting the 2017 budget. Could I have a report from the city administrator, please?
Yes, very succinctly, the 2017 budget is balanced, is prudent, and most importantly, it's responsive to the needs and expectations that were articulated in the 2016 Citizen Survey. The budget is proposed at $33.7 million, which is a 36% increase over the prior year's adopted budget of 2016. That represents an $8.9 million increase. That's alarming until you know what that's driven by. 83% of that increase is directly related to capital improvements, some of them related to the recent adoption of 2A and other projects we've talked about regarding the River Corridor, Centennial Park. Also, 6.9% is related to this 8 new staff positions as relates to parks and code enforcement. Again, issues that were directly requested in that survey as to where the public wanted us to focus and invest. As I mentioned, the budget does include, from our prior discussions, given the successful passage of 2A, almost $3.4 million in both revenue and expenses. We're showing just over $3 million in actual expenses because the balance of the 3.4 is put in reserve. So there's about a 10% reserve being put in at that budget. We'll be working with the council. I know you're soliciting public input through outreach meetings to find out how the public would like these improvements to take place, either in accelerated fashion over the course of the 10 years that the sunset provision provides. So hopefully we'll be getting that type of input over the next 5 to 6 weeks, and then you'll make a determination. But again, because of the citizen survey, it made the budget process fairly easy because we simply focus on what the public wants us to focus on. And succinctly, that was on public safety. We've made significant investments in police technology and in training, road and stormwater. Certainly 2A represents our interest in dealing with our road conditions. We still are probably deficient in our investment in stormwater. We'll be talking more about that in the forthcoming year as we look at some potential rate studies to generate the capital necessary to invest in stormwater, because right now we have identified about $55 million in delayed stormwater improvements that eventually need to be addressed. Economic development and downtown enhancements, clearly there was a very strong voice in the survey for improving the overall economic health of this community, creating more job opportunities, improving shopping opportunities, and making downtown more vibrant, and you've made that a priority. Parks, recs, and trails, again, we've got significant projects scheduled for Centennial Park, almost $1 million worth of improvements just in Centennial Park with splash pad, playground equipment, new restrooms, improving the pond conditions there, continue investment in trail development, again, trying to accentuate what are some of our strongest assets. That's our outdoors and our recreational opportunities. So continue to build upon that. In addition, trying to enhance the aesthetics of the community, especially the US 50 corridor with entry statements, wayfinding, making improvements to that first impression to both our residents and our guests. Despite the significant increase in capital investments, we're still reflecting a very strong financial position and health with a $9.4 million total fund operating reserve, equals 28% of our total expenditures, and a $3.1 million general fund operating reserve, which represents a 30% fund balance, which is in excess of your minimum is 20%, your threshold maximum is 30%, so you're still at your maximum in that respect. Unless you want me to go into the further detail, that in essence represents what we'd like to accomplish with the budget in 2017.
Thank you, Tony. Any questions of council? You can talk about it now.
I just want to reiterate what Mr. Worka said, is that while with my conservative view, it's a challenge to bite off some of these numbers, but keep in mind that the increases, correct me if I'm wrong, we are not talking about any tax increase.
No.
We're talking about using some reserves that we've had for a while and taking those reserves and spending them in such a fashion that's relative to the survey that you people are actually going to see results. So this money, as it gets put into place, we're actually going to see some real results, and we're going to bring our police department into the 22nd century or wherever we actually are at. But they're actually going to have data terminals in those units, which is going to make a significant difference in terms of how the police department is currently operating. So I think the budget's prudent, but I also recognize that there's a lot of money in there. And you also need to recognize we are not talking about any tax increase.
Smith?
I would like to kind of go off of what Jim Meisner started talking about as well, is that this revenue that we found is money that it's a one-time investment into our community to give back to them and for infrastructure. The streets have been lacking with infrastructure funding, but so has several other parts of our city as well have been lacking in infrastructure investment. And so we decided to make a one-time investment into kind of updating parts of our city overall that really need attention. And we did it based on that survey. Another concern I've heard from citizens is the increase in staff. And that number can be a little bit tough to swallow. But it's important to recognize that while, let's say, on this list, one of the things that we said that we've hired is new city attorney. Well, we lost a city attorney, and now we're replacing that city attorney, and that's one of those numbers. Same with our Parks and Rec department. We are taking 4 seasonal employees and replacing that with 2 full-time employees, and so that's part of where that comes from as well. And also changing our billing for water to a monthly fee, so that will be easier for our citizens to pay a monthly fee for their water instead of quarterly. And that will require an extra person to do that for the ease of our customers, to make it more customer-friendly. That's, all those things are important. And also that as we invest into our parks, that for Centennial Park in particular, in the citizen survey, it said that 91% of our citizens use our parks. And so this is an investment where 91% at least of our citizens will benefit from this, as well as our tourists and special events, to put on our best foot forward for them. And I agree that I'm excited to see that because we have two-way pass, that we can still move forward as a community and improve where we live in general, instead of being hampered and handicapped. And so I appreciate that.
Yes, one of the things that I find encouraging is that the city owns about 7,200 acres, and we have great pride in our trail system, and I hear all the time how proud people are of our parks. They're going to go down that same road unless we have personnel to take care of them, and we're taking 4 seasonal and making 2 permanent. So they will always, the number of things that Parks and Recreation does is amazing to me with the 6 people they have. I can remember going out with Mr. Brady, and we went to the Royal Gorge, and there was trash all over the place from apparently a bear that got hungry. And he had somebody digging a grave at the cemetery and someone taking a tree out. So the mayor and Rex Brady picked up the trash. I'm sure the tourists didn't appreciate how well we did. But so they just don't have the personnel. I don't want to see this great source of pride that we have, start slipping away because we just don't have the people to take care of it. And that's what this does. So we have first, we call, we have a roll call?
Motion on Resolution 29.
Oh, we need a motion. I'm sorry. Look, we need a motion and a second. I got talking too much. Need a motion and a second on this resolution. Mr. Weed.
Thank you. Members of council, I make the motion to approve resolution number 29, series of 2016, adopting the 2017 budget.
Mr. Gill seconds. Any discussion on the motion? Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Weed?
Aye.
Councilmember Gill?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Meisner?
Aye.
Approved by unanimous vote.
Thank you. Then 10B is an ordinance number 24, series 2016. This is the first reading for this ordinance. This is an ordinance which actually appropriates the money for the budget for 2017. I will need 3 to introduce. Mr. Weed, Mr. Gill, and Ms. Smith. Clerk, would you call by title, please? Read by title, please.
This is a bill for ordinance number 24, series of 2016, an ordinance appropriating sums of money to various funds and spending agencies in the amounts and for the purpose as set forth below for the City of Canyon City, Colorado for the 2017 budget year.
Thank you. Could we have any report from the city administrator? Are we already done that?
Yes.
Yes, we
Yeah,
have.
nothing to
We
add.
can just get your
Okay.
vote, that's all we need.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from council? Hearing none. Any comments from the audience at this time? None? Could I have a motion and a second from council? Ms. Smith?
I move that we approve ordinance number 24, series of 2016, appropriating the 2017 budget upon first reading.
Second.
Mr. Weed seconds. Any discussion on the motion? Would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Weed?
Aye.
Councilmember Meisner?
Aye.
And Councilmember Gill?
Aye.
Approved by unanimous vote.
Okay, there seeing no more business, I adjourn this meeting.